Well, I just installed the horn on this thing. All right, how about that, huh? Really powerhouse. And we got some drag specialties long stem mirrors, so they go on either side, which makes it a lot easier. So if you get an extra one, you can just use it on the left or the right. You can see behind me. So I gotta have it hot wired though. I'm still waiting on the ignition switch. It seems like they lost it or something. I have to wait on that till so. That thing don't work. The thing, it tightens up the throttle. Used to work. Anyway. Should be this thing right here, man. Ain't doing nothing. That's alright. It's nice having that. It idles about 1,000 RPM once it gets warmed up. So I readjust the windshield till I can see over it. It still blocks the wind better. So the only thing I really want to do to this thing that I don't need to do right now is put the 3.8-gallon gas tank on it, because this is an extra bike. But the thing is, if I'm using it as an extra bike, I'm going to need that range. So depends on the situation though. If I'm in a club, I definitely need the range. I don't even know if the 3.8 gallons will be enough. So everything's good on it. I think I'm waiting on that ignition switch. He said by Tuesday, if it don't show up, you know, it's supposed to be that two-day thing, free shipping 2-day thing, you know, with JP Cycles. That's the only order I had screwed up, and it's like I gotta have it hot wired. So you can see down here, got it hot wired down here. But you know, whatever. I'm saying I'm using it too far until I get that switch in. Yeah, she's sweet, man. She's got a way less wear on this bike than the bike I got, the 89. It's a 91, but I noticed I was picking up too, like, let me shut it off and disconnect my hot wire here. See, it's right here. See, all it is a 3-position switch. They actually have like a wire loop going from the ignition to the headlight. So when you turn it on in both positions, the headlight comes on. So you just cut that wire if you want the loop wire, if you want to just have it where you have an actual 3-position switch. I think it was one of the first things I did on the bike. Somebody told me about that when I first got my bike. But yeah, the bigger gas tank probably would be a smart thing, but like I don't need it. It's like it's only if I'm in a club and I need that range. But I noticed that it's got a lot less, even here. It looks like they didn't even use the fork lock on this thing. This thing probably was, I think the last couple of years it was outside. That's where it got a little like rust pitting. But I think this thing was in the garage almost most of its life. Because there's not even a fork lock on this thing. I mean, it's like no scratches in the paint over here. Mine, all the paint's been worn off of here. You know, the lock bangs around and stuff. And as a matter of fact, I think the lock I got with it, like I got my other lock from before. I got a longer one later on so I could put a big chain on it. But the first lock I had with it, I actually taped it up and I put some zip ties on it so it doesn't bang around and scratch the paint over in here. So, but I can still use this as it is because the real security is that lock. And these older bikes, I think the newer bikes they got, you know, with the fuel injection and stuff, you're not gonna, I think they got like a key that's like programmed with the electronic ignition and stuff. I think that's what they are. Um, so, you know, it's just another theft deterrent. These bikes don't really have much theft deterrent, but thing is, you know, the theft deterrent is like, you better watch it, because you can, even if you have the bike like with all this theft of stuff on it, they could take parts off of it. You know, they could steal the wheels, the fork, you know, all kinds of junk. I mean, the whole bike can be stripped where it sits, you know, so you got to really watch where you park and where you're at. That's why it's good to be like with a group, you know, because, you know, that's what it is with bikes. But so, and looks like, yeah, there's a chrome one. That's a chrome one over there. That's not a galvanized steel. That's a, so looks like it's probably a 48 tooth. I got on my bike, the 4-speed, I got 23 over here and a 46 in the back. It's supposed to be 21 and 48. So my first gear is really tall. I don't really need that 48 in the back. I can get away with a 46 in the back. I can get away with a 47 or 48. And I think the next time I'm not going to go with a 46, because it is, you know, it is pretty tall. And the Sportsters, they will rev safely, you know, more than the big twin, because it's got a shorter stroke, and a shorter stroke means that at a given RPM, the piston speed is slower. So your pistons are going slower. You know, if you're revving at 4,000 RPMs, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like doing like 3,500 on a big one, you know, so, because the piston speed, you know, it's a shorter stroke motor, bigger. It's still got the big bore, but it's a shorter stroke, so the RPM curve is way up higher naturally. So, you know, but I don't like riding, you know, the 21, the 4-speed with the 21 and 48. It does rev kind of high on highway, but if you just change that front sprocket, the 23, it's okay. You can go a little more than that. I think when I went to the 46, it was a little bit much, but it's still okay. But this one with the 5-speed, this little 883, this thing will go, man. It's the only problem you got with the range is the gas tank. I mean, with that Mustang seat on there, with that, you know, it's got like rubber bumpers in it, plus better foam, and it's got like the back rest thing. You know, I mean, if you're really making it into a crew, this is my only bike, I would get the bars that are a little higher and come back a little more, you know, which would necessitate changing some of the cables. But it's like, I could ride it like this, no problem. So anyway, very, very happy with it. So it's basically all done. Waiting on the ignition switch. And I do have a voltmeter coming. It's like 20 bucks. It'll go right here. It's like, goes right across the lines on here. So it's like, it's an LED. It's not a number readout. It goes in bars. It's like 2 red bars, and it goes in a couple of orange bars, and it goes in some green bars, and it's got a blue bar. So if you're down in like, if you got like at least a few orange bars on it, you're running about, you know, at least 12.5 volts. And once you get to a green bar, you're like 13, or, you know, 13, you know, 2 green bars might be like 14 or something. It's easier to read than the number. You can see it at a glance. Because I'm always a little like, you know, I know the bigger bikes got voltmeters on them, but these don't. And it's a simple thing. You just run it off your ignition switch. As soon as you turn your switch on, the voltmeter's on. So you can just, it's 2 wires. You just run it from, you know, the ignition switch and one to the ground, and that's it. And it sticks on here with glue. And if you use the right kind of glue and you chemically clean it, it stays on there forever. I got one that's been on my bike for 10 years and it's still working. But they're made, and I think Kirkland or something makes them. They're like $60, $70, and they're $80 or something. This place in England makes it, and it's 30 bucks. So it got it coming from England, but that's not necessarily like a vital thing. But I've had charging system problems on the 4-speed, and they've been noted for having charging system problems. But I've had the clutch shell rebuilt by, I think it was Zippers up in Maryland years ago, and they did something with, they put like the weights in a basket or something, and they welded it up or whatever the hell they did. I haven't had a problem since. I had no problem with the weights coming off. The 5-speeds, the charging system is actually better, but it can still screw up. And I like having that warning, because as soon as your charging system goes out, whether you're supposed to ride with the lights. I mean, unless it's nighttime, you got to leave the lights on. But if you're in the daytime, you definitely want to flip the switch on the ignition switch, get it down with no lights. You're not drawing so much, and get to some place where you can get the bike fixed or charged up enough where you can get it home. So it's you want to just be riding and riding and riding, and just all of a sudden the thing quits on you. Because that charging system light, and I got an oil pressure gauge on mine too, besides the red light, but I don't think that's that necessary. But you could put oil pressure gauge on these, but I'm not going to do that. But the charging system, the fuel tank, that might be 6 months down the road or so. But that would pretty much complete the way the bike could be. And the only thing else I would do to it is probably the handlebar. But I wouldn't touch the handlebar until I felt that I wanted to change the clutch cable as a precaution, in case it breaks. Because, or if I went inside into the primary, I'm not going to even touch this thing though. This thing's staying bone stock, but it's going to be like maintenance stuff, So, anyway, she's a nice bike. Glad I got it, and I'm glad I did all this little extra stuff to it and shined it up a little bit more. It's a great little bike, and I mean, I knew people. Sometimes it depends on who it is. I mean, usually the idiots that they talk a lot of crap about the 883s, but I mean, yeah, you can make them at 1200s, and you can really make that 1200 into really a horsepower monster. And being in a bike that is a lot lighter than the big ones, the thing, it trounces the big ones. They don't like that. But the main thing that's wrong with these is that, and you can go long distances with them, but if you had 2 people on this bike and you had a lot of cargo, where are you going to put it? Where are you going to put it? I mean, you can put some big bags on here, maybe have something out there. You're not going to have, you can kind of make it in, on one person, you can make it into a touring bike pretty much. But, if you really had to, you could still pretty much do it with 2 people. But the thing is, most people don't ride more than 100 miles at a time. And that's why I really look at some of these bikes that are like, 750 to 900 pounds. And I'm like, they ride them 5 miles. It's kind of like an ego status thing. That's really, I think, what's going on. And that's why it's like, if you get a Dyna that's still not big enough, you got to get a soft tail or something, or a Fat Boy, and you got to go get a Road King, and then there's no end to it. And like I said, back in the day, nobody was riding those baggers, man. Pretty much. If you're talking back in the 70s and stuff, it was choppers everywhere. Extended forks, raked out, bike stripped down, huge sissy bars. I mean, that's and the reason they got popular was because people actually rode them a lot. And you look at this bike, it's got like 20,000 miles on it. This is a 33-year-old bike, so that's like 1,500 miles a year. So you can see I put a couple miles on it yesterday, not much. I think I got about 16 miles on it or something now. That's all I did since I got it. But I'm running it hot wired, so I don't want to run it too much. But most people don't use them that much, so what's the point of, I tell you, it's a status symbol. That's why you go buy these big bikes, and they got like, you can find bikes that are like, you lower mileage than this. I saw one that was like a 2000 that had, I think, 9,000 miles on it, and it was owned by a senior, and he was getting rid of it, and it was a 1200. Actually, that probably was a better deal than this one, but he wanted cash right up front. Don't ride it, don't fucking, don't. And this one was delivered to me. That was cool. The guy dropped it off in a trailer, so I was like, that made it easy. The other one, I would have had to go down there and take a look at it. But the other one, actually, even though it was $1,000 more, it was a 1200. It had more accessories on it. It had like the Fat Bob tank with the speedometer in the middle. It just had more stuff on it. It had the bags and stuff. It was like, it had like, this got some accessories, but that one was really decked out, and it was black too, so that was pretty good. But I like blue. I just don't, I'm not fond of a red bike unless it's like a dark red, As you like blue, green, I guess yellow could work maybe, but I'm not. I like blue and black the best. So, you know, I'm glad I got this color. So that was another thing. And it came with the chain drive. Oh, some people don't like that, but like I said, the first year they went to the 5-speed on the Sportster. The 883 was a chain drive, and the 1200 was a belt. Then the second year they were all belts. So this is kind of, that's another reason I want to keep this thing as stock as possible, because it's, you know, you just run it. Maybe I'll get a lot of miles on it, but I don't know. I mean, if I got a lot of miles on it, it probably would be a 1200, but I would take the work out to like Zippers or somebody like that really knew what they're doing. And oh, there's a kitty cat up here. Hey, kitty cat. There you go. There you go. that looks like Boots' the old Boots is one of his kids. Hey, kitty. You know what I could tell? It's got 4 white feet. It's got 4 white feet. Right? I think that's one of Boots' kids, man, from Boots the Confederate Cat, way back in the day. Still got Onyx out here, man, my little other cat. So that's his son. Anyway, and yeah, I got to be careful because I'm the cat daddy. You know, got to watch out. You know, there's a lot of crazy people out there, but you know, whatever. But yeah, this thing is sweet. I'm really satisfied with it. I might take it to the gym, hot wire tonight. So whatever. Just have to take my lock with me.